Greetings everybody, Maximus here. Well, in what I consider breaking news, and forgive the hastily thrown together video, but I wanted to turn this around as fast as I could. But on Thursday, 5 December, U.S. Texas federal judge Reed O'Connor rejected the sweetheart plea deal struck between Boeing and the very corrupt, my words, U.S. Justice Department, citing concerns about plans for oversight of an independent monitor. But more specifically, the Biden administration requirement that the arbiter of the deal must be chosen first and foremost under strict DEI standards, meaning that it's not important to the Justice Department that the tortured Max families be represented by the best qualified legal mind to help decide if Boeing should still be charged criminally, and also how much money these families should receive. But the DOJ is insisting that the monitor be chosen on the curve of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the families of the MAX crash victims were vehemently opposed to this restriction because they want the best qualified legal representation they can get regardless of the administration's ridiculous DEI requirements. And considering the majority of the victims were mostly non-U.S. citizens and mostly people of color themselves, well, that irony wasn't lost on the court and Judge O'Connor. The deal rejected Thursday was meant to resolve a years-old criminal fraud charge against Boeing following two 737 MAX crashes in 2018 and 2019. Boeing pleaded guilty this year to defrauding safety regulators by failing to disclose information about the then-new software system on the MAX planes. An error with the system, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS, caused the two planes to nosedive and crash, killing a total of 346 people. The plea deal would have required Boeing to pay a $244 million fine and spend 3 years on probation. Under the deal, Boeing would have an independent monitor oversee the company's progress on compliance with anti-fraud measures. On Thursday, the federal judge in Texas rejected the deal, sending Boeing and the Justice Department back to discussions and giving the families who lost loved ones in the crashes another chance to demand responsibility from Boeing. Paul Cassell, an attorney representing those who lost loved ones, said in a statement Thursday that the ruling showed that Judge Reed O'Connor has recognized that this was a cozy deal between the government and Boeing that failed to focus on the overriding concerns, holding Boeing accountable for its deadly crime and ensuring that nothing like this ever happens again in the future. O'Connor wrote in the ruling that the deal did not have an appropriate plan for selecting and overseeing the independent monitor. The agreement between the Justice Department and Boeing marginalizes the court in selecting the independent monitor, he wrote. Further, it requires the parties to consider race when hiring the monitor. These provisions are inappropriate and against the public interest, O'Connor said. The families who lost loved ones in the MAX crashes had earlier asked O'Connor to reject the deal, arguing that it did not go far enough to hold Boeing responsible nor its executives for the crashes. Those opposed to the deal said it allowed Boeing too much input in the selection of the independent monitor, including the ability of the families to strike one of the candidates if they so choose. But now those families have a chance to offer more input and discussions about the plea deal and see the accountability they had been seeking, according to the attorneys that are representing them. Attorney Sanjeev Singh, representing some of those families who lost loved ones in the Indonesia crash, said Thursday, "We are extremely pleased with the court's order. Rejecting the plea agreement is a step towards justice for the families victimized by Boeing's criminal conduct." Mark Lundquist, representing victims' families from the second MAX crash in Ethiopia, said, "The ruling was highly unusual. He was glad to see that O'Connor wanted there to be more assurance that the appointed monitor will be truly independent and highly qualified. He said, in my opinion, the judge is sending the DOJ a message. Do your job and hold Boeing accountable." Boeing and the Justice Department previously put criminal charges on hold after entering into a deferred prosecution agreement in 2021. The Justice Department determined earlier this year that Boeing had violated the terms of that agreement. As you recall, it was just days before that deal was set to expire that a piece of fuselage blew off a 737 MAX plane mid-flight, leaving a gaping hole in the side of the plane, and reigniting scrutiny about Boeing's commitment to quality and safety. Following the government's determination that Boeing had not complied with the deferred prosecution agreement, the two parties reached a plea deal this summer. In the agreement, Boeing and the DOJ said the government would oversee the selection of the independent monitor and Boeing's compliance with the oversight program. But Judge O'Connor said Thursday that that wouldn't work. The court should be more involved, he said. O'Connor said the government has monitored Boeing for 3 years now, and it's fair to say the government's attempt to ensure compliance has failed. At this point, the judge said the public interest requires the court to step in. O'Connor also said he was concerned with the Department of Justice guidelines for considering race and other demographic factors when choosing the independent monitor. However, the DOJ maintained that its selection process would be open to all qualified candidates and based entirely on merit. But O'Connor said the government has shifted its policies and been contradictory in explaining its diversity and inclusion provision. He also pointed to Boeing's diversity commitments and said the company removed its goals and aspirations regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion from its website. Boeing reportedly dismantled its DEI department and the company's vice president of DEI stepped down last month. But in a case of this magnitude, he said it is the utmost interest of justice that the public is confident this monitor selection is done based solely on competency. The party's DEI efforts undermine this confidence in the government and Boeing's ethics and anti-fraud efforts. The diversity and inclusion provision renders the plea agreement against the public interest. The parties both have 30 days to provide an update to the court on how to proceed according to Thursday's ruling. Well, how about that? That is indeed surprising and welcome news to the victims' families and even surprising to me and probably to you as well. But you can see with recent events here in America and in fact around the world that citizens are tired of being called racist or anti-this or anti-that simply for wanting the best option for whatever their situation may be. And thankfully, it looks like we are all turning a corner back to normal when people are judged on merit and talent and not based on guidelines set by TikTokers and social media. And don't even get me started on the DOJ. That's a whole nother video, which I won't get into because we do aviation, not politics. But hey, sometimes the two intersect, and when they do, we'll talk about it, like today. So that's all I have for now. Like I said, sorry for the hastily scrambled put together video. But I am looking forward to your comments. So let me know down below. However, I imagine most of you, like me, are happy for the victims' families, but are still cautious not to get too excited until we see Boeing really held accountable for the harm they have caused. So with that, until next time, yeah, this is Maximus.